Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Gangrene Against the World podcast. I'm Allan Simon. The New York Jets are 0-3, and every loss looks a little different, and it happens in unique ways, but the end result has been the same. Through three quarters, it seemed like this game was another no-show by the Jets. I'm thinking about how the reaction will be with Aaron Glenn, and how can you justify this being a new regime that operates differently when two of the three games are utter disasters. And there's a lot that went into this, for sure. There's injuries that came into play. But overall, through three quarters, and they go into the fourth quarter down 17 points, you're thinking the worst of this team. And then through the will of Tyrod Taylor, who spent most of the game running for his life, they are able to chip away at it. And the defense makes a couple of stops and shows some resistance. But overall, after Will McDonald makes one of the great plays you'll ever see on a block kick and runs it back for a touchdown, the play of Will McDonald's career for sure, the first thought for me and the first thought for all Jets fans was there's a lot of time left on the clock. And put aside that Baker Mayfield has already had 2 game-winning drives this season, this Jets defense never makes the big stop. This has been true for the Rob Saleh years. This has been true time and time again for these teams that need to rise to the occasion with these defensive-first head coaches and make the stop to win a game. They are unable to do it again. And it always looks the same. Some scrambling by the quarterback, one play with a missed tackle that leads to a lot of yards after the catch. And sure enough, they're lining up for a field goal, and the Buccaneers win 29-27. This defense wasn't as bad as it was against the Bills, but the Buccaneers are not an offense like the Bills. And this defense still had a terrible time early stopping Baker Mayfield. This team also never gets a turnover. We are now 3 games in, and they have not turned the ball over once. Every cornerback and every safety that's on the field is playing the receiver and has their back to the ball and is never looking to play the ball. And we saw this happen to Sauce Gardner, who didn't have a terrible day but did not have a great day, had a pass interference on 3rd and 29 that was soft, but you know what? It is 3rd and almost 30. Back up, know where the first down marker is. Don't let someone behind you. It is inexcusable to even put yourself in a situation where you could get a pass interference called against you on 3rd and 29. This defense is a problem. Steve Wilks' defense is boring. It is not the type of defense you expect from a defensive coordinator who's been in this league for a very long time, who has been a head coach in this league. He has been a disaster so far. And yes, Quincy Williams gets injured, but Quincy Williams was not having a great year so far. He was having a better game today before he gets hurt with his shoulder, and we'll see how long he's out for. Jamien Sherwood, although he had 11 tackles today, he has been terrible. And he, in that play with 8 guys over pursuing on a dump off to Bucky Irving that goes for huge yards, he is the worst offender on that. The person in second is Michael Clemens, who has another terrible week of tape, whether it's the over pursuit where he's trying to run back to the play and whiffs on a tackle, or he gets blocked into oblivion with the game on the line with the Jets down a touchdown by a tight end on a scramble by Baker Mayfield. A tight end blocked him 10, 15 yards, and he could not get himself off of him. And it was embarrassing. It's making its rounds on Twitter now. There's people tweeting it that aren't part of like Jets fan bases or the Bucks fan bases. It's just a clip that's starting to go viral. And they're like, look at 72 getting manhandled down the field. And us Jets fans are saying, yeah, this is every week. This is happening every single week with Michael Clemens. He is overexposed constantly on this team. He does not look like he's ready to play. He gets a 15-yard personal foul face mask penalty, which although it looks like he maybe missed the face mask, got right underneath it, He's still reaching because he's not in good position, and he's reaching high with his hands, and he's putting himself in a position to make bad plays because he's not getting to the quarterback on time or not tackling with the right form. Instead, he's reaching and arm tackling and trying to pull and bring someone down, and he gets penalized. That last possession where there's under 2 minutes left, everyone knew they were going to make it down the field. And it always looks a little bit different, like I said in the beginning. Oh, by the way, Ibuka, I think, caught that ball on the sideline. They should have been in field goal territory even quicker. It was an amazing circus catch, but still an amazing catch. I thought he got both feet in. It's just never ending with this defense, and it's never ending with this team. They have a brilliant moment. You're thinking this is just like the Curtis Martin halfback pass miracle where they score a touchdown, get a fumble, score a touchdown again, and win in Tampa Bay. You are thinking this is the Cleveland miracle from a couple years ago where they get 2 quick scores under 2 minutes. They get the amazing play. Will McDonald is a superhuman person jumping over the snapper, getting to the ball, picking it up and running for a touchdown. But you knew it wasn't going to last, and you knew that they were going to blow it. And at what point, with a veteran defensive coordinator and a head coach who's made his bones in the NFL playing defense and coaching defense, does this look different? It is a predictable defense. You know that you can take shots at receivers because guys are chasing and guys are not playing the ball, and they're going to be hand checking the entire way down. And sometimes it works, and a lot of times you get called for it. And it happens on these huge third down plays all the time. Overall, 122 yards on the ground for the Buccaneers. The Jets had some good resistance. I thought Quinnen Williams was an absolute beast on the field. He was able to take advantage of this makeshift offensive line. Early on, although they did not get the sacks, the Buccaneers, they were just trying to give this game away with all of the penalties on that first drive and in that first quarter. You have to give the Jets pass rush some credit for that. They're being held because they're beating the guy in front of them. But once that calmed down, there was no other solutions from this defense. You look at the other side where you can't tell me that the Buccaneers defense outside of their defensive line is a lot more talented than the Jets defense in terms of pure talent. And they're getting creative with their blitzes. Todd Bowles' scheme is always hard to handle, and it takes forever for you to figure it out. And by the time you figure it out, you've already been hit in the jaw a bunch of times. Steve Wilkes' defense and the version of Aaron Glenn's defense when he is a head coach just isn't doing the job. Outside of Quinnen Williams, I thought Jawan Briggs had another really nice day. I thought Harrison Phillips looked really good. Defensive tackle seems good. Well, it'll be interesting to see the snap counts to see how often they went with that jumbo defensive line package where they put Briggs or they put Quinnen Williams on the outside. But on the snaps where Michael Clemens and Will McDonald are on defensive end, there is no stopping the run. Will McDonald, God bless him, an amazing play today. He's getting after the passer really well. He is one of the worst defensive ends against the run in the league. He just is. He is a huge liability. And when Jermaine Johnson isn't playing, you have to keep throwing him out there on run plays, and it really, really hurt them. The secondary still didn't tackle well. Stevens had a terrible first half. He tackled a little bit better in the second half, but he was atrocious in the first half. Michael Carter, who's playing hurt, is holding on for dear life, making tackles across the middle of the field to stop some huge plays. Every time a quarterback drops back to pass, you think something bad is going to happen. It's just the mentality right now for this team. If you look on the offensive side, listen, Tyrod Taylor, give him a lot of credit. This team could have quit, and they did not. He put together a nice game. He was pressured 14 times, 7 of those pressures against Olu Fashanu. Fashanu had a terrible day. A lot of those blitzes were coming from his side. I think you're going to see that maybe Todd Bowles found something in how you attack Fashanu that really worked. Of those 7 pressures, I wonder how many were, 2 guys coming his direction. It didn't look like the offense line was getting beat one-on-one, but there was just, they could not account for all of the blitzers. And what's killing me too about this game plan, is you have 4 active tight ends. Why are you not throwing 2 tight ends out there to give your offensive line some help that's really struggling? And they're very lucky that Tyrod Taylor did not get hurt in this game. He got hit 10 times. He was sacked 4 times. On the 14 pressures, he was 10 of 13 for 82 yards, a touchdown, and that really bad pick. That is not a terrible day against a lot of pressure. He ran for a little bit as well. Overall, he had, a really nice performance, and he found a way to find the free yards on the field and, chip away at the lead. He gets Garrett Wilson with a nice touchdown pass. And after Garrett Wilson and his great performance today, there is nothing from the receivers. So if you look at the big issues we knew about this team, one was defensive line depth, and that is rearing its ugly head immediately and persistently for this team. You're looking at this depth, and you're looking at Michael Clemens playing too much and Will McDonald playing against the run, and it is a real problem. The other thing we all knew was that Darren Muji, who's made some nice moves and made some nice trades, came into the season with no wide receiver 2. Josh Reynolds was that guy, and he doesn't play. And then we're left to see guys like Tyler Johnson and Arian Smith really struggle. And when you see Tyrod Taylor scrambling and running for his life, and you're saying, hey, why isn't he getting the ball out of his hands? It's because there's no one to throw to. Tyler Johnson had a crushing drop. They could have even been that game earlier if he doesn't drop that ball on 3rd down and long. Allen Lazard, the next play, it's 4th and 12, and they throw him a ball 8 yards deep. And he's running in quicksand, and there's no chance Allen Lazard is picking up that first down, catching the ball in front of the first down marker. Lazard, by some miracle, holds on to the ball. He almost drops the touchdown pass in the back of the end zone. It was a nice defensive play, but you got to secure that thing. He barely did. I think the Jets got lucky that they didn't give that a closer look, or they didn't overturn that, rather. And again, Garrett Wilson had 13 targets, over 30% of the target share. He's going to set a record for target share this season, the way things are going. And, Tyrod did the best he could, 26 of 36, a touchdown and interception, 197 yards through the air, 48 more rushing. But I don't know what you do to address this. And Garrett Wilson gets some slack on the interception. The pick 6 at the end of the half was just brutal. It made you think that game was over then. And part of it is, if you look at the play before, it was play or 2 plays before, Tyrod Taylor is scrambling for a few yards. He takes a weird step on his knee, on his back, his right foot. And I think he airmailed that a little bit because he didn't feel comfortable throwing off that foot. I don't know what happened with that leg. It looked like it buckled a little bit. But he airmails that pass, and it's also late, right? He moves the pocket. He throws late across the field, which is always going to be a disaster. And Garrett Wilson is standing at the first down marker, but you have to know that you got to attack the ball. And if you can have one criticism with Garrett Wilson, he is not a receiver who attacks the ball. He catches the ball with his body. It's why he sometimes struggles to get yards after the catch, and he's always having to be really twitchy immediately because he's not really catching things in stride with his hands. You cannot let that ball get picked off and have a return for a touchdown. He still put up a good performance today. He scores the touchdown. And overall, this offense, I think, did enough to win this game. And, it took a miracle play on special teams. And that's why I think the criticism of this defense still holds. Yes, the special teams made the play and blocked the kick. But really, the Buccaneers, 99 out of 100 times, make that field goal, and that game is over. That game is over because you didn't make a stop again. And then they give him the ball back, and you don't make a stop again. And on and on and on and on we go. The comeback makes the day better, but this defense is keeping them from winning. Miami also isn't, giving up on their head coach, and they're 0-3 at home on Monday Night Football, and it's going to be a slapping fight between these two teams. It is going to get ugly this week leading up to it. There's going to be a lot of noise. You have to make it through Sunday, and then you play on Monday on national TV. This goes without saying, you got to win on Monday. You need to beat the Dolphins, because if you beat the Dolphins, and not that I think the Jets should be given the benefit of the doubt to beat anyone, but the Cowboys just got blew out by the Bears. I'm watching the end of that game right now. The Cowboys, were a mess today against Chicago. So you beat Miami like you should. You find a way to win at home against the Cowboys before you go to England, and then the schedule gets really soft. The Bengals are not a problem right now. You saw the Bengals get completely blown out by Carson Wentz. The schedule has the Panthers. I don't know, the Panthers had a nice win today against a divisional rival. That's not a team that necessarily scares me. You should be able to beat some of these teams and make this a season where you're, 3-3, 2-4, 3-5, something where you're not totally out of it come your bye week in the middle of the season. You lose against the Dolphins, all bets are off. You lose against the Dolphins, I think you start to question if they start the season 1-7, what kind of appetite does Woody Johnson have for a 2-win team this year with Aaron Glenn? I don't think it'll be that bad, but eventually you got to win a game, and eventually you got to show that you're able to do it. So yeah, you give Aaron Glenn credit. The team did not quit on him today. I think time will tell, is that they're not quitting on Aaron Glenn, or are they not quitting on Tyrod Taylor maybe? Everyone loves to play with Tyrod Taylor. But Will McDonald saved this from being a really negative week. It's a bad week. You lost again. Almost doesn't matter. In week 1, when it's the first time seeing this offense in its full form, and it's against Aaron Rodgers, and you go blow for blow and you lose on a 60-yard field goal. I know moral victories. Everyone's all upset about moral victories. I understand that they don't count. But it is okay to feel good about a loss like that because it's week 1 and you want to see your team build off of that. Well, then you don't show against the Bills, and for 3 quarters of this game, you're sleepwalking. And then you finally put together a special fourth quarter, but because your defense can't stop anyone when it matters, you blow it. So Will McDonald, I think Aaron Glenn owes him a hug and owes him a big thank you, because he saved this from being a week of, can Aaron Glenn do this? Because you were already seeing the New York media talk about how he's been outcoached 3 weeks in a row. And I think that's fair. I think he has been outcoached 3 weeks in a row. This seems like the adjustments were made in the second half this game, adjustments that were not made up against the Bills. But you take out a miracle play by Will McDonald, this game is over and sealed up, and you're looking at another, double-digit loss to a good team. And the last thing I'll say is there was always a way that this would be an 0-3 start. You're playing 3 teams you expect to be in the playoffs. You're playing 3 of the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL. But it's all over the map of what this team is actually. And so far, we've gotten 7 quarters of really, really, really bad football and 5 quarters of good professional football. Football that looks like what the rest of the league looks like. But 7 of these quarters have been terrible. So I think it is fair to say that this week you maybe take a breath because it ended up not being a no-show performance. But if you lose to Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football, this season is in full-blown dumpster fire, lost season, sound all the alarms, anything is possible. This is a disaster, so don't let that happen. Find a way to take the good from this game, find a way to make this defense better, figure out who's healthy and who's not, because injuries are going to be a factor, and win a game on Monday night. So the Jets lose 29-27 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They fall to 0-3. The Buccaneers are 3-0. The Jets' next game is going to be on Monday Night Football. I've got a guest I am so excited to talk with this week about the Miami Dolphins. This one's a long time coming, and I can't wait to talk to a good friend of mine later on this week, and that will be a lot of fun. This has been episode 16 of the Gangrene Against the World podcast. I'm Allan Simon. Thank you for listening.